Welcome back to the Phantom Tollbooth, and we are in the middle of chapter 16, and Milo just met a very dirty bird. "I don't think you understand," said Milo timidly, as the watchdog growled a warning. "We're looking for a place to spend the night." "It's not yours to spend," the bird shrieked again and followed it with the same horrible laugh. "That doesn't make any sense. You see," he started to explain. "Dollars or cents, it's still not yours to spend," the bird replied haughtily. "But I didn't mean," insisted Milo. "Of course you're mean," interrupted the bird, closing the eye that had been open and opening the one that had been closed. "Anyone who'd spend a night that didn't belong to him is very mean." "Well, I thought that by," he tried again to explain. "That's a different story," interjected the bird a bit more amiably. "If you want to buy, I'm sure I can arrange to sell. But with what you're doing, you'll probably end up in a cell anyways." "That doesn't seem right," said Milo helplessly, for with the bird taking everything the wrong way, he hardly knew what he was saying. "Agreed," said the bird with a sharp click of his beak. "But neither is it left, although if I were you, I would have left a long time ago." "Let me try once more," he said in an effort to explain. "In other words." "You mean you have other words?" cried the bird happily. "Well, by all means, use them. You are certainly not doing very well with the ones you have now." Must you always interrupt like that?" said Talk irritably, for even he was becoming impatient. "Naturally," he clacked. "It's my job. I take the words right out of your mouth. Haven't we met before? I'm the ever-present word snatcher. And I'm sure I know your friend, the bug." And then he leaned all the way forward and gave a terrible, knowing smile. Ooh. The humbug, who was too big to hide and too frightened to move, denied everything. "Is everyone who lives in ignorance like you?" asked Milo. "Much worse," he said longingly. "But I don't live here. I'm from a place very far away called Context." "Don't you think you should be getting back?" suggested the bug, holding one arm up in front of him. "What a horrible thought," the bird shuddered. "It's such an unpleasant place that I spend almost all of my time out of it. Besides, what could be nicer than these grimy mountains?" "Almost anything," thought Milo as he pulled his collar up, and then he asked the bird, "Are you a demon?" "I'm afraid not," he replied sadly, as several filthy tears rolled down his beak. "I've tried the best I can manage to be is a nuisance." And before Milo could reply, he flapped his dingy wings and flew off in a cascade of dust and dirt and fuzz. "Wait!" shouted Milo, who thought of many more questions he wanted to ask. "£34!" shrieked the bird as he disappeared into the fog. "He was certainly no help," said Milo after they had been walking again for some time. "That's why I drove him off," cried the humbug, fiercely brandishing his cane. "Now let's find the demons." "That might be sooner than you think," remarked Talk, looking back at the suddenly trembling bug. "Oh, this guy's scary. He's so weird." And the trail turned again and continued to climb. Oh, look at this guy. He gives me the creeps. See, where was I? I got put off by this scary guy here. In a few minutes, they reached the crest, only to find that beyond it lay another one even higher, and beyond that, several more, whose tops were lost in the swirling darkness. For a short stretch, the path became broad and flat, and just ahead, leaning comfortably against a dead tree, stood a very elegant-looking gentleman. Ooh, he's so weird-looking. He was beautifully dressed in a dark suit with a well-pressed shirt and tie. His shoes were polished, his nails were clean, his hat was well-brushed, and a white handkerchief adorned his breast pocket. But his expression was somewhat blank. In fact, it was completely blank, for he had neither eyes, nose, nor mouth. Look at that. Isn't that creepy looking? That picture always weirds me out. Ooh. "Hello, little boy," he said amiably, shaking Milo by the hand. "And how's the faithful dog?" he inquired, giving Talk 3 or 4 strong and friendly pats. "And who is this handsome creature?" he asked, tipping his hat to the very pleased humbug. "I'm so happy to see you all." What a pleasant surprise to meet someone so nice, they all thought, and especially here. "I wonder if you could spare me a little of your time," he inquired politely, "and help me with a few small jobs." "Why, of course," said the humbug cheerfully. "Gladly," added Talk. "Yes, indeed," said Milo, who wondered for just a moment how it was possible for someone so agreeable to have a face with no features at all. "Splendid," he said happily, "for there are just 3 tasks. Firstly, I would like to move this pile from here to there," he explained, pointing to an enormous mound of fine sand. "But I'm afraid that all I have is this tiny tweezers," and he gave them to Milo, who immediately began transporting 1 grain at a time. "Secondly, I would like to empty this well and fill the other, but I have no bucket, you see, so you'll have to use this eyedropper." And he handed it to Talk, who undertook it at once to carry it 1 drop at a time from well to well. "And lastly, I must have a hole through this cliff, and here is a needle to dig it." The eager humbug quickly set to work picking at the solid granite wall. So here they're doing these very menial tasks with very tiny tools. Isn't that how life is sometimes? When they had all been safely started, the very pleasant man returned to the tree and, leaning against it once more, continued to stare vacantly down the trail, while Milo, Talk, and the humbug worked hour after hour after hour after hour after hour after hour. Look how many hours after hours. And that's a scary guy. And that's where we will leave it, with Talk, the humbug, and Milo working at these very tedious tasks. Until next time.